Have you ever wondered what would have happened if Muzan was born with all his memories? Just how would the story change? Could he wipe out the entire Demon Slayer course? And most importantly, could he finally conquer the sun? As Muzan loses to the Demon Slayers in the Infinity Castle arc and his body begins to disintegrate under the rising sun, he feels himself being dragged into the abyss. But when he opens his eyes, he's met with a familiar sight, his weak, fragile human body. At first, he thinks this is the afterlife and that he's being punished for his sins. However, as time passes, he soon realizes he's been reborn and given a second chance. Shocked by how this is even possible, Muzan vows to never repeat the same mistakes he made in his past life. Everything goes the same as before up until the moment he meets the mysterious doctor who created the medicine that originally turned him into a demon. In the original timeline, after taking the medicine, Muzan's symptoms worsened, and in a fit of rage, he killed the doctor before the treatment could take full effect. But this time, things are different. Muzan decides to wait, letting the drug finally activate, and just like the original timeline, his transformation begins. After turning into a demon, Muzan questions the doctor about the blue spider lily and its location, believing the man must have the answers. But the doctor admits he doesn't know of the flower's whereabouts. See, most fans assume the doctor knew about the blue spider lily and its location since it was a major ingredient in the medicine that he made that turned Muzan into a demon. However, after hours of deep research and carefully going through the entire manga and every Demon Slayer fanbook ever released, it's revealed that canonically there was only one person who truly knew the flower's location, and that person was Kai Kamado, Tanjiro's mother. It was also confirmed in the second official Demon Slayer fanbook that the blue spider lilies have only bloomed in the same spot where Yoriichi buried his late wife Yuta. Now, you could argue that the doctor might have still known the flower's location at that point in time, especially since neither Yoriichi nor his wife were around during that period, but considering that the flower only blooms during the day and only once or twice a year, it's far more likely he got it through trade or from another doctor who managed to preserve it. Realizing the doctor has no clue where the flower actually grows and suspecting he might be lying, Muzan decides to kill him, but not like in the original story. This time he turns the doctor into a demon and absorbs him, hoping to gain access to his memories. Through that, he learns about the blue spider lily and its rare blooming season, something he never knew in the original timeline. Unfortunately, even with that knowledge, he still doesn't know its exact location. From here onward, the story would progress just like in the original timeline, with Muzan creating the 12 Kazuki once again, but with one key difference. He puts out a bounty for the blue spider lily, promising immense rewards to anyone who can find it. This means, unlike before, Muzan now has both humans and demons searching for the flower, a massive advantage compared to the original timeline. At this point in the story, Muzan's next move would be to hunt down Yoriichi while he's still young and weak, eliminating him before they ever have the chance to clash. However, since Muzan never really knew about Yoriichi, like his origins, his whereabouts, or even his habits, it's highly likely that finding him would prove impossible. From here, the story would unfold just like the original until that fateful day when Muzan meets Lady Tamayo. In the original timeline, Tamayo approached Muzan pleading for him to cure her illness. Muzan agreed, but instead of healing her, he turned her into a demon. In this new timeline, however, things take a darker turn. Considering how much of a threat Tamayo became during the Infinity Castle arc, Muzan wouldn't make the same mistake again and would kill her on the spot. This single action would cause a massive ripple across the Demon Slayer world. Without Lady Tamayo, there would be no anti-Muzan drug, no cure to turn demons back into humans, and since Tamayo was the one who saved Yoshiro and turned him into a demon, he wouldn't exist in this timeline either. After eliminating Tamayo, events would continue similarly, but this time Muzan would go to extreme lengths to avoid Yoriichi altogether, letting him live out his life and die of old age. This would be a major shift from the original story. Without taking any critical damage from Yoriichi's sun-breathing, Muzan would remain far stronger than before. It also means the iconic battle between Kokoshibo and Yoriichi would never happen, sorry about that. Continuing, years would pass and Muzan would continue his rule in the shadows, turning Yoriichi's brother Michikatsu into the Upper Moon One, and commanding all his demons to remain hidden until the time was right. Eventually, we reach the day Muzan tracks down the Kamado family. Just like in the original timeline, he massacres everyone, but this time he doesn't simply leave like he did in the original timeline. Instead, he forces Nezuko to regain consciousness and orders her to consume her dead family members, granting her an enormous boost in power. Afterwards, he takes her away from the mountains and tests her resistance to sunlight. Muzan believes she might adapt and build immunity over time, but to his surprise, she doesn't, as she still isn't strong enough. Still, recognizing her potential, he decides to keep her close, knowing she would be the key to conquering the sun later on in the story. When Tanjiro returns home, he's met with the horrific sight of his slaughtered family and the unbearable stench of blood. He soon realizes Nezuko's body is missing. Desperate, he searches the entire mountain until he finds Giyu, who convinces him to join the Demon Slayer courts to find his sister. Meanwhile, Nezuko, who is now consuming human flesh, would grow exponentially stronger. And considering how powerful she was in the original timeline, without ever consuming a single human, it's safe to assume she'd rise quickly through the ranks, earning the title of Lower Moon 5. Her blood demon art would evolve drastically. Her flames not only capable of harming both demons and humans alike, but also enhancing the power of any demon she uses them on. She'd gain full control over her size, allowing her to grow as massive as a colossal titan or shrink down to the size of a child at will. Tanjiro's journey would continue as in the original story, with him defeating the hand demon, facing the swamp demons, and growing stronger. However, each battle would be tougher since Nezuko isn't by his side. Even so, his determination would carry him through. And just like the original story, when Muzan and Tanjiro finally cross paths for the first time, things would play out differently. In the original timeline, Muzan turns a man into a demon to cause chaos and escape due to the PTSD he got from seeing Tanjiro's Hanafuda earnings. But in this timeline, he'd do it purely to mock Tanjiro. Without Lady Tamayo to step in to stop the demon with her blood demon art, the newly turned demon would go on a rampage, killing some civilians before Tanjiro finally puts it down. Muzan, however, wouldn't rush things. He'd leave Tanjiro alive, knowing he could become a valuable asset later on. Unlike before, Muzan wouldn't send Susumaru, Yahaba, or any demon after him, choosing instead to observe from the shadows. At this stage, Nezuko would have consumed thousands of humans, her strength skyrocketing as she becomes the new Lower Moon 3. Tanjiro, on the other hand, would meet Zenitsu and Inosuke, forming their familiar trio and taking down the drum demon Koyogai. Fast forward to the Mount Nanagumo arc, the fight with Rui would be far more brutal. Without Nezuko's blood demon art, Tanjiro would barely hold his own until Gyui arrives to finish the battle. Severely injured, Tanjiro would be taken to the Demon Slayer headquarters to recover. This means the famous headbutt he gave Sanemi in the original timeline never happens. The story would stay mostly consistent until the Lower Moon meeting. Muzan, still enraged by their failure to find the Blue Spider Lily, decides to wipe them out, sparing only Enmu and Nezuko, promoting them to Lower Moon 1 and 2 respectively. He gives them both a massive dose of his blood, amplifying their powers even further. And if you're enjoying this What If video so far, then you've got to subscribe to the channel. Unless you want Muzan showing up at your door tonight, so do it right now. But anyway, moving into the Mugen Train arc, Muzan sends Enmu just as before. Enmu puts the Slayers under his spell, but without Nezuko there to wake him up in time, the group remains trapped much longer, allowing Enmu to consume numerous passengers. However, through sheer willpower, Tanjiro and the others eventually break free and defeat him, though many civilians lose their lives in the process. As they help the remaining survivors, Akaza appears. The battle between Rengoku and Akaza unfolds much like before, but this time, Muzan warns Akaza in advance to take the fight seriously. That means Akaza doesn't waste the time trying to recruit Rengoku, he fights with the full intent to kill. The battle is brutal, and in the end, Akaza kills Rengoku just as before, turning him into a donut before fleeing into the forest moments before sunrise. The story then shifts into the Entertainment District arc, with Tengen, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke sent on their mission. Thanks to Muzan's past memories, he quickly alerts Gyutaro and Daki days before the Slayers arrive, giving them time to fully prepare. So when the Demon Slayers finally reach the district, they're met by a far more ruthless and coordinated assault. Daki and Gyutaro waste no time striking first, and the battle that follows is an even more intense and deadlier fight. Even with Tengen's experience as a powerful Hashiro and Tanjiro unlocking his Demon Slayer mark during the fight, the group quickly realizes they're outmatched. Seeing this, Tengen orders Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke to retreat and report everything to the headquarters. Tanjiro refuses at first, but Tengen forces him to go, promising that he'll hold the demons off. With no other choice, Tanjiro and the rest leave, swearing to avenge him. Tengen, alongside his wives, fights with everything they have, but without Nezuko's blood demon art to neutralize the poison, their fate is sealed. Despite putting up an incredible fight, all of them die a tragic death. This marks a major shift from the original timeline, as Gyutaro and Daki will be alive in this timeline, meaning Muzan now has all of his upper moons intact and ready for the final battle. When Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke return to headquarters and report what had happened, Kagaya and the Hashiras are left in shock, as from the way the boys described the attack, it's clear the demons weren't just waiting. They knew the Slayers were coming. Every move felt like a setup, every trap too precise to be coincidence. That chilling thought spreads through the core. Muzan might already know more about the operations than they realize. After losing two Hashiras, the core decides to re-strategize, but Muzan doesn't give them time. He pushes them forward to the next phase. Remembering from his past life how Nezuko gained immunity to sunlight during the Swordsmith Village incident, Muzan decides to replicate that outcome, but this time it will be under his control. The Swordsmith Village arc happens much earlier than before. Muzan sends both Hentengu and Gyoko to attack, but this time he also sends Nezuko along, hoping she'll once again gain immunity to sunlight during the chaos. The events unfold similarly but with major differences. Instead of Tenjiro facing Hentengu alone, he would now fight alongside Muichiro, taking on both Hentengu and Nezuko together. While Mitsuri is sent to deal with Gyoko, the combined power of Hentengu's clones and Nezuko's blood demon art makes the battle even more intense. Still, Tanjiro and Muichiro manage to hold their ground until Genya arrives to back them up with his American breathing. As the battle rages on, both Tanjiro and Muichiro awaken their Demon Slayer marks, allowing them to keep up with the demon's overwhelming power. Meanwhile, Mitsuri's fight against Gyoko goes much smoother. Her flexible whip-like fighting style gives her an incredible edge. Thanks to this and her fiery determination, she awakens her own Demon Slayer mark, just like in the original timeline. Empowered and faster than ever, she overwhelms Gyoko and defeats him far more efficiently than Muichiro in the original timeline. Once she finishes her battle, Mitsuru rushes to assist Tenjiro, Muichiro, and Genya against Hentengu and Nezuko. The clash reaches its peak at sunrise as Hentengu's main body and Nezuko both begin to burn. Nezuko experiences a rush of his memories, her mother's gentle voice, her siblings' laughter. Every moment, every smile, every tear she had buried deep within her heart flashes before her eyes. Her body trembles, her emotions overflowing as she whispers, "Oni-chan," just like she did in the original timeline. Everyone is stunned, but Tenjiro doesn't hesitate to embrace her, reuniting with his sister at last. They take her to the Demon Slayer headquarters, and even though the Hashiros remain cautious of her, Kagaya's foresight reassures them that Nezuko means no harm. With that, the Demon Slayer Corps gains a powerful new ally, one who was once Muzan's key to immortality. Muzan, though pleased that Nezuko gained immunity to sunlight, becomes furious when he realizes she has regained her humanity and memories. His plan has once again backfired. From here, the story continues much like the original, with the Hashira training arc taking place as usual, eventually leading us to the Infinity Castle arc. But unlike the original timeline where Muzan personally meets Kagaya and gets caught in his explosion breathing, this time he plays it off smarter. Instead of appearing himself, he sends Akaza to finish Kagaya off. As Akaza approaches, the mansion detonates, the explosion tearing through everything in its path. Yet, Akaza's regeneration keeps him alive. Moments later, Muzan acts. He summons the Infinity Castle and pulls the entire Demon Slayer Corps inside. From that point on, everything changes. Zenitsu still faces Kagaku just like in the original, but the other battles take very different turns. Instead of Akaza fighting Tenjiro and Giyu alone, the pair now face Gyutaro and Daki together. But Tenjiro and Gayu aren't alone either. Nezuko joins them. The battle that follows is brutal, with Gyutaro and Daku fighting in perfect sync. However, Nezuko's blood demon art has evolved, now far stronger than in the original timeline. Combined with Tenjiro and Gayu's coordinated attacks, the three manage to overpower their foes. Just like before, Akaza experiences flashbacks of his human life and chooses to end it himself, while Gyutaro and Daki regain fragments of their humanity before turning to ash. Afterwards, the trio regroup with Shinobu, who is locked in a deadly battle against Dama. Despite her best efforts, she's consumed once again, but her poison begins to take effect from within. Enraged by her death, Tenjiro, Nezuko, and Gayu attack with unrelenting fury, holding Dama back long enough for Inosuke and Kanao to arrive. Together, with Shinobu's poison still weakening him, they finally bring him down, though not without suffering heavy injuries. The battle against Kokoshibo soon follows. Muichiro, Sanemi, Genya, and Goyomi face him in one of the most intense and unforgiving fights yet. Muichiro and Genya fall just as in the original, but in the end, Kokoshibo, haunted by the memories of his brother Yorichi and what he's become, accepts defeat and allows the Demon Slayers to strike the final blow. And with all of his upper moons gone, Muzan himself enters the battle. But this version of Muzan is far stronger than the one from the original timeline. He was never injected with Tamayo's aging drug, nor did he suffer any of Yorichi's sun-breathing injuries, meaning he is at 100%. Even with the combined strength of every surviving Hashiro, Nezuko and Tenjiro's sun-breathing, Muzan completely overwhelms them. One by one, the Hashiro fall until only an injured Tenjiro and Nezuko are left standing. Without wasting a moment, Muzan then seizes Nezuko and consumes her whole, gaining complete immunity to sunlight. Overjoyed by his newfound protection, he turns to a battered and near-death Tenjiro, transforming him into a demon, the first of his kind to share Muzan's immunity. From that moment on, Tenjiro becomes Muzan's right-hand man. Together, they wipe out the remaining Demon Slayers and take over Japan. And as years pass with no one left to stand in their way, they slowly conquer the world, making demons the superior race and driving humanity to extinction. Well, folks, if you liked this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell icon to get notified of any of our future videos. And before I forget, check out these videos where I find out what would happen if other anime characters were reborn with their memories. Thanks for watching, have a good one, and bye-bye!